Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to a very special game that I prepared for you today. Today we're analyzing a beautiful game that has been played by top Grandmaster and the rising star and of course the hero of India. Today we're analyzing a beautiful game by Gukesh Dommaraju. So Gukesh was really the top story in the last couple of weeks, I think, because he had this beautiful result in the recent chess Olympiad in Chennai. He had 8 consecutive wins in one particular moment of the tournament, which was really incredible when you think about it harder. You were playing basically against the top players in the world and you have really 8 consecutive wins, and I'm not sure whoever made this kind of a result, so it was really cool. And we have to again say it, I must say it, that Gukesh Dommaraju is only 16 years old, so who knows, maybe in the future we'll see a beautiful world championship match between Ramesh Babu Praggnanandha against Gukesh. This would be, I think, incredible. Of course for India it would be really a special duel, and I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I think we have now really a beautiful future in front of us. Of course Alireza is here, Andrey Esipenko is here, and that's exactly the game that we're covering today. Today we'll see 2 beautiful prodigies. Today we'll see Andrey Esipenko against Gukesh Dommaraju. So it was the game has been played in the Turkish league, and it had really some ups and downs. Of course these are young players that will still have ups and downs in their games, but it was really cool that we have seen this duel in a club match, because basically when I follow the top grandmasters of these days, I don't know in which clubs they are playing. We don't know basically where Magnus Carlsen is playing, where Fabiano Caruana is playing, so I'm not sure where they're playing, so I have to use some additional info about the current clubs. And as I said, they're played in the Turkish league, and of course this Turkish league is really strong tournament with really top grandmasters. So let's see now what happened. Here Andrey Esipenko played with the white pieces and Gukesh Dommaraju played with the black pieces. Let's see now what happened. So here d4 was played by Esipenko. We know about Esipenko, of course. Also he won one beautiful game in the last year against Magnus Carlsen with a beautiful tactical shot. So believe me or not, Andrey Esipenko can play really the game. He's really a strong and respected grandmaster already today. So after move knight to f6, Esipenko played c4. We have e6 going maybe into the Nimzo-Indian if of course knight to c3 is played. So but now these days most of the times you see the anti-Nimzo or counter Nimzo-Indian setup. So here Gukesh goes with d5. He is going now into the queen's gambit declined structure, and after move g3 we have now reached sort of a Catalan idea to play the game. Here in the continuation we're trying of course bishop to g2, and if black takes d takes c4, then of course this long diagonal will be open, and then white could have really cool position. White would have great attacking chances on this diagonal. So here the continuation, we have now the normal idea bishop to b4, and you should not be surprised about this move. This is really main theory, because the idea about this move bishop to b4 is not allowing again here white to play the move knight to c3. Now I think if white plays knight to c3, then a beautiful move could be played here d takes c4, because there is not a good way anymore to create this check and recapture the pawn, because if you play queen to a4, then we have even the opportunity to take to place our knight here on c6. We're protecting the bishop, and we can hang on to our extra pawn that we have gained here. So basically the move bishop to b4, you see, is also preparing d takes c4, because if the bishop would not be here and you take d takes c4, then of course queen to a4 comes with queen to c4 and you get your pawn back. So it's preventing this move knight to c3, which would be very important, I think, here in white's game. So that's why bishop to d2 is the main line. Now black's dark square bishop is challenged, and there are basically 2 good choices here that you can play. You can play a5 supporting your bishop, or bishop to e7. I myself, I'm more of a fan to play bishop to e7, because it leaves me a little bit more flexible situation here on the queen side. Still I can go maybe a6 b5 or b6 c6, so I have a certain flexibility here to move my pawns. But okay, here Gukesh played a5, and he's hoping that maybe white takes here. Then you would reach this position, bishop to b4, a takes b4, and now you could build maybe sort of a dark square attack here with b6 and then followed with c5. The a file is open, so it's also a good game here for black. But okay, in the continuation after move a5, Esipenko played bishop to g2, tried to keep the position here tensed on this dark square diagonal. He's preparing now, of course, kingside castling. Kingside castling played by Gukesh. We have queen to c1, and this is now an interesting line. It has been played in chess history. This is not a mistake. Here what white is trying to do is, of course, to keep the tension here on the c file, and is also trying to recapture the pawn, because now as I said, sometimes you should really consider this idea by black simply to take out the pawn, and if that happens, maybe black can protect the pawn. So that's why Esipenko is now protecting the pawn on c4. So we have now bishop to e7 was played by Gukesh. Now Esipenko castled, and now c6, so keeping the position on light squares really compact. So we have here now rook from f to d1, attacking the queen indirectly, of course. So far the queen is not endangered, but if something gets cleared, maybe if the d file opens, then the queen could be messed up here by this rook's activity. So we have knight from b to d7 played by Gukesh, and now bishop to f4. So this is now a normal idea. Now finally Esipenko is trying maybe to develop the knight to d2, is maybe also maybe in some occasions trying to play the move c5. In the continuation we have knight to h5. So here Gukesh doesn't want to tolerate this active bishop that is slicing, of course, on this long diagonal, is trying now to kick away the bishop. And you see now the idea about Esipenko's move queen to c1, because he is trying now actually to trade off here the dark square bishops, which is a great idea. This is a beautiful idea. You see how strong now also Esipenko is. Here he played bishop to g5, which is a perfect move, and after potential trades of bishop that actually happened, bishop to g5, knight to g5, look at this. Actually black is left here with a bad bishop here on c8. So white traded off the dark square bishop, which wasn't, I think, such a great piece for white against black's best minor piece. The bishop on e7 was really a strong piece that controlled both of these diagonals, and now when the dark square bishop is off, as I said, black is left a little bit with this weak bishop on c8. It's simply paralyzed by its own pawn structure. So far a good strategy by Andrey Esipenko. So we have now b5, and that's the first move that I kind of don't like here by Gukesh. b5 is bringing more and more pawns on light squares, and you see you're further paralyzing your own dark square bishop. Maybe a more flexible idea is to go b6. At least you're kind of developing maybe this light bishop here on this diagonal. Maybe you can use this kind of an opportunity to improve the piece, or maybe you could go queen to e7. Maybe you can prepare here the move e5 to break through, and then maybe to liberate this diagonal for the dark square bishop, or you maybe can kick away the knight and then play queen to e7, preparing this kind of a move. But here after move b5, again Esipenko shows his great positional skills. He played c5, paralyzing, really paralyzing further and further this light square bishop, not allowing this bishop really to breathe. Now look at this. This bishop is really messed up here on c8. So we have now queen to e7 by Gukesh. He's trying now to prepare the move e5, but e5 is not possible immediately because for instance, if you play e5 immediately here by black, then I think you get e4, and you look at this, this bishop is already there. You could maybe retreat with your knight, but now after d takes e4, knight to e4, we can even continue the pressure, and I think you have already some weaknesses here in the position. So and finally white's mission is accomplished. As we said in the beginning, if the d file opens, then your queen could be in danger. So from this point on, I think white has a comfortable game. So you see queen to e7, e5 are not working, so the best idea actually here was to play h6, kicking away the knight. Now the knight has to move to f3, and at least temporarily you have blocked out this activity of whites, because as we said, the main preparation of whites is to play e4 and then breaking in the center. So h6 was the actual correct move and also the supported move by top penguins. But okay, here Gukesh played queen to e7, preparing now finally e5, and here here in the continuation e4 immediately, played by Andrey Esipenko. So you see Andrey played so far really perfect game. He played really now great attacking the central board and has now actually a dominant position. So you see bishop to a6 was played by Gukesh. He's trying now to get this bishop somehow into the game. This is really a bad bishop here, so he's trying at least to play b4 and activate it maybe on this diagonal, reroute somewhere the bishop, trying to search for new opportunities. In the continuation, bishop to f3, knight to f6, and now e5. So you see Esipenko is keeping his pawns on dark squares. He's getting really some great spaces here. Now the knight has to retreat, and we have to say from this point on, in my opinion, white should be much better. But now comes one of the critical moments of the game. Here Esipenko played queen to e3, and this was his first mistake in the game, and it's really unclear why this move is a mistake. It's not a mistake that's losing here for white or something, but the correct move is to play bishop to g4 or maybe bishop to g2. What you're trying to do is to play f4 f5, but that's why bishop to g4 is even probably more accurate. So we're trying f4 f5, maybe even f6. So we have to use now our kingside attack here in order to make some kind of a progress. So basically the bishop is standing in the way in front of the pawn, so you're trying to play f4. So that's why this was the more accurate way. After move queen to e3, this is slightly passive move, which gives now here Gukesh to get back into the game, because now finally he played h6, and look at this, you cannot retreat with the knight on f3 where it's supposed to be. Now you have to even use this square, knight to h3. And as I said, you see how tough chess really is. In one particular moment Esipenko had a really dominant position, and then in the other situation, in one move, he messed up the position, and actually from this point on I think Gukesh is the one that's taking over. So we have now g5 here. Gukesh is not allowing this move knight to f4. That could be really annoying for black to handle. If the knight comes on f4, then it can be rerouted here to h4 h5 or something, then the queen could come into the game. So far a good move, a good prophylactic move by Gukesh. So bishop to e2. So you see now probably Esipenko realized his mistake. He's preparing now desperately the move f4, but it's not working because now Gukesh is getting the pieces back into the game. Knight to f5 is now also positional threat. So here Esipenko plays this aggressive move f4, but as we said, it's a little bit too late in my opinion. Now you see Gukesh removed his pieces. He activated his pieces again. The pieces are getting better and better. A better idea is maybe to play again g5, pardon me, g4, not allowing at least this annoying attack by the knight against the queen. Maybe you should commit your sort of mistake, and you say, okay, I made a mistake on the king side. Now it's time to again somehow paralyze the position a little bit, not allowing this move knight to f5. Maybe in the later stage f4 could be an opportunity, knight to f4, maybe again knight to h5 in order to make some kind of a progress. But g4 was the sort of a must move here. Unfortunately Esipenko played f4, and in the continuation Gukesh realized that he could now attack the queen. The queen has to retreat, and from this point on, as we said, Gukesh is taking over with a beautiful f6 move. So it's breaking now really the position. He has now also the opportunity to occupy the f file, and we have to know this now. Now white has here a lack of development. Didn't play so far with the knight, didn't play so far with the rook. Black's rooks are connected, and I'm telling you this because the rook connection will play a very important role now in the continuation of the game. So we have now e takes f6, and even if you try something like g4 now in order to kick away the knight, this is not working because black is taking over now on the king side. Now what you could do is to play just knight to h4. You can maybe take e takes f6, knight to f6, and even if you try this one, f takes g5, it's not working because black doesn't have to even take out the pawn. Black can activate the piece on e4, and what should you do? You can maybe take out further, but now finally the bishop would come into the game. This wasn't played in the game, but this was, I think, a very important tactical sequence that could have happened if Esipenko would have attacked the knight with the move g4. Look at this, we're deflecting now the bishop from the square f3, and now the knights are dancing in front of the king. Knight to f3, king to g2, queen to h4 is going to happen. There's not a good way anymore to protect the pawn, and it's game over here for white. So you don't have time here to play the move g4. That's the most important thing, because the knight is staying here a little bit longer. So you can even try, I think, some ideas of knight takes d4 is also an interesting idea in this position. Rook to d4, now we can even take, and this pawn is hanging, this pawn is hanging. We have the f-file attack. Even in this position, the engine likes more black's position. Really, really wild stuff. So as I said, after move f6, here e takes f6 was played, queen to f6. Now Gukesh is taking over on the f-file, and we have now f takes g5. But now comes the beautiful tactical shot that Gukesh prepared here. He saw everything here. He played now knight to d4. It's not losing the queen, of course, because if you take here, then you get also the beautiful fork here. You lose the queen also, then eventually you lose this pawn. And look at this, black is continuing the game with beautiful two centralized pawns. This pawn is weak, and then we can play b4. We can finally get our bishop into the game. So here this position is much better, of course, for black. So beautiful tactical shot after move knight to d4. If you take, of course, rook to d4, then queen to d4 is again winning the exchange. You get again the knight into the game. This pawn is weak. Again, we can occupy the f-file with both of the rooks. So it's also an unpleasant game for white. So that's why after move knight to d4, we have bishop to g4, getting out of the range of the knight. Now knight to f3, bishop to f3, queen to f3, and now g takes h6. It doesn't matter that white has now three connected passers here on the king side. Doesn't matter, because black is still here, two connected passers also in the center of the board, but we have to agree black is also much better activity here. The pieces are much better. b4 is going to happen again, and we're targeting now the square f1. So now rook to f5. So as I said, the rook connection was the most important tactical element now in the continuation of the game, because now this rook is coming to f8, so white cannot compete anymore on the f-file. The only idea is now to play rook to f1, simplifying the game, but still even in this scenario, queen to f1, queen to f1, rook to f1, we play e5. You can maybe develop the piece, but now we play king to h7. You are maybe trying to play some kind of this move. We can even make further progress, or with the move b4 with the check, rook to f8. But I like these two connected passers, and here the engine also gives a winning position for black. So it's maybe much harder to win the game, but it would be maybe a slightly better idea for white, at least somehow, to battle this position. So as I said, rook to f1, maybe just hope for a draw here. But okay, here the continuation, rook to e1 was played. Now Gukesh advanced the pawn here to e5. We have knight to d2 attacking the queen, queen to h5, and now after move king to g2, rook from a to f8 was played. And believe me or not, in this position actually Andrey Esipenko resigned, because he cannot actually compete anymore on the f-file. If you play rook to f1, then we can play b4. You take, and now again you have some problems on the f-file. Now we play, I think, here e4, knight to e5, knight to f3. So the knight is a little bit loose also here on h3. It's not developed, so it's really a bad position. So Andrey Esipenko realized his problems in the position, and he fairly sort of resigned, which is also not a problem. He lost one game, but he won also some games in the past against Gukesh. So we'll see, maybe in the future, the World Championship match, Andrey Esipenko versus Gukesh. Who knows what will happen in the future, but I think chess has at least a bright future. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. Interesting game it was for sure. You see how chess can be tough. You're taking over, you have a decent position, then you make one slight inaccuracy, and then you get punished. And of course, the top grandmaster like Gukesh will punish you immediately. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. If you want to see more beautiful games played by chess prodigies, you can also check out some Ramesh Babu Pragananda's games, Gukesh games, Esipenko's games that we have covered. Here's the link of our YouTube youth playlist sort of. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.